All right, Eagles Nation, welcome back to FlyEaglesFly News, where the passion never stops and the grind for greatness never ends. Today we've got a full plate, and trust me, you're going to want to sit down for this one. We're diving deep into A.J. Brown, a man who doesn't just want to be good, he wants to be legendary. Then we'll swing over to the defensive side, where Cooper Dean might be making the shift to outside cornerback, a move that's got people talking all over the city. And finally, we'll break down what might just be the secret sauce of the Eagles' offensive evolution, Kevin Patchelow's so-called cheat code. But before we jump into the main course, there's one piece of news that officially closes a chapter in Philly. C.J. Gardner-Johnson has found his next home. He's officially signed with the Chicago Bears, and that means we'll be seeing him again soon, Black Friday, in Chicago, under those cold lights. It's kind of wild, right? One minute it felt like nobody was going to pick him up, the next he's back on a roster, ready to go. He's even saying he'll suit up this coming Sunday. You gotta respect that hustle. Gardner-Johnson has always been a dog, fierce, competitive, and always ready to talk that talk. And even though he's wearing different colors now, he'll always be remembered in Philly as a champ, a warrior, and part of that brotherhood that brought glory to the city. So yeah, salute to him. Best of luck in Chicago, but once an Eagle, always an Eagle. Now, let's talk about the man leading this team, Jalen Hurts. Something's shifting in his game, something that's been a long time coming. For the first time in a while, it looks like Hurts is starting to trust his third wide receiver again. You can see it in the way he's spreading the ball around, the confidence in those deep throws. 3rd and 6, pressure coming, and Hurts just drops a perfect dime down the far sideline. Touchdown. It's like he's letting it fly again. And if you remember, last season this was a big discussion. A lot of us were talking about how Hurts didn't seem to have faith in his wide receiver 3, and honestly, it made sense. After watching Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor have some big drops in key moments, you could tell it left a mark. Those mistakes can stick with a quarterback, make him hesitant to look that way again. But this year feels different. Jahan Dotson has been showing up, reliable, making the plays when they matter. That consistency changes everything. And honestly, it gives context to why Howie Roseman pulled the trigger on that trade for Michael Carter too. A lot of people expected Howie to go after an edge rusher. I was right there in that camp, thinking that's the move to make. But instead, he went for a nickel corner. And when you really look at the depth chart, it makes perfect sense. Perry Nickerson got cut, then brought back to the practice squad. The secondary's been in flux. Michael Carter too, though, that's a guy with experience. Just a year or two ago, he was ranked as one of the top nickel defenders in the league. Physical, tough, a player who doesn't shy away from contact. The guy literally gave up around $5 million of guaranteed money to get out of New York. That tells you everything about how bad things got for him with the Jets. But now he's here, and that fresh start could be exactly what he needs. From what I've seen on tape, he's up and down, flashes of brilliance followed by head-scratching moments where you wonder what coverage he's even in. Sometimes he looks lost, like he's thinking too much instead of reacting. But when he's locked in, man, he's a missile. You watch his film, and it's easy to see why coaches still believe in him. He's a contact player. He wants to hit. He wants to make plays, and he plays with heart. There's that clip where he takes on a crack block from a receiver, bounces off an offensive guard, and still makes the tackle. That's effort. That's the kind of energy Philly fans love. But then there's the other side. Moments where he misses open field tackles or gets caught in bad position, like that bubble screen against DK Metcalf that turned into a huge gain, or the man coverage mix-up that gave up a touchdown because he just left his guy. Those are the kinds of lapses that make coaches nervous. Still, this move feels like a safety net. You look at the Eagles' corner situation. If Jacorian Bennett doesn't develop, if Adoree Jackson keeps dealing with injuries or playing below expectations, and if Khalil Ringo continues to struggle, then you need options. Carter gives you that. He's played meaningful snaps, he knows how to handle the slot, and if the experiment with Cooper Dean on the outside actually works, you've got flexibility. It's almost like Howie's thinking 3 steps ahead. He knows this defense has potential, but also has soft spots that can be exposed. Carter could end up being that steady, low-cost piece who holds it all together when the rotation starts to thin. And speaking of Cooper Dean, that's another storyline worth watching. Moving him to the outside cornerback role is interesting, especially given his size and skill set. He's physical, no question, and he's got the speed to hang with most receivers. But playing outside full-time is a different beast. It's about reading the field differently, about anticipating the quarterback's eyes rather than reacting to motion inside. Still, this team's been experimenting, and maybe that's exactly what's needed. Maybe they're looking for that next big breakout player who can surprise everyone, kind of like how Avonte Maddox used to pop off before injuries kept setting him back. At the end of the day, though, this is classic Howie Roseman. Calculated risk, strategic depth, and always leaving the door open for another move. Reports are already floating around that he's not done yet, and honestly, nobody should be surprised. When Howie starts tinkering mid-season, it's because he smells something, an opportunity, a weakness, or a chance to steal a player another team undervalues. This Michael Carter move might just be the first domino, setting up a bigger shift later on. Maybe it leads to that edge rusher the defense still needs. Maybe it's about positioning for the playoff push. Either way, the man doesn't sleep, and neither should we. So now the defense gets a little deeper, the competition gets a little tougher, and the whole team keeps evolving. The Eagles aren't just reacting, they're adapting. You can see it in the roster moves, in the way Hurts is spreading the ball, in the way A.J. Brown's fire keeps pushing everyone around him. This isn't just another season for Philadelphia. It's a transition, a recalibration. Every piece matters, and every adjustment is about staying one step ahead. Because if there's one thing this franchise has shown under Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, it's that they're never satisfied. Whether it's fixing the secondary, balancing the offense, or finding a spark in a player like Michael Carter who's hungry for redemption, they're always chasing that next edge. And that's exactly what makes this team so dangerous. Now let's dive into the story that's been stirring up the most conversation lately. A.J. Brown and the inner fire that drives him. Everyone knows A.J. is a competitor. He's not out there just to play football. He's out there to dominate, to prove that he belongs among the best in the league. But there's a fine line between wanting to win and wanting to be great. That line is where A.J. seems to be walking right now. An article came out recently that painted a picture of a guy who isn't just chasing stats, but also battling that inner tension between personal success and team victories. You could tell from the tone, he wants both. He wants the rings, the records, and the respect. And honestly, can you blame him? Think back to last season. A.J. went on that insane stretch of games where he was putting up over 100 yards week after week, breaking records and turning heads across the league. He even topped a mark once set by Calvin Johnson. But if you watched his interviews or followed his posts, you could sense it. He still wasn't satisfied. Because even though he was balling out individually, the team wasn't winning the way he expected. That right there says everything about him. For A.J., greatness isn't just about the numbers on paper. It's about being part of something that dominates from start to finish. Fast forward to this year, and it's been almost the opposite scenario. The Eagles have been stacking wins, but A.J.'s had a few games where he barely touched the ball. 2 catches, 7 yards, that kind of stat line. And for a player of his caliber, that stings. He's not complaining because he's selfish. He's speaking from the mindset of a player who wants to be the best version of himself while helping the team stay at the top. And the truth is, that's the mentality of almost every elite wide receiver. These guys are wired differently. They're emotional, intense, and they measure their worth not only by wins, but by how often they make an impact. When you listen to him talk, or even go back to that podcast he did a while back, he said something that really explains everything. He talked about how stats aren't just numbers, they're leverage. They affect contracts, longevity, and how teams value players in the business side of the game. If you're winning games, but not producing, eventually front offices start asking hard questions like, do we really need this guy if we can win without him? And that's the reality every receiver in the NFL faces. It's not just about ego. It's about survival, about staying relevant in a league that constantly looks for the next big thing. But here's where things get messy: social media. A.J. is an emotional player, and sometimes that energy spills onto the internet. He's passionate. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and when something's eating at him, it shows. The problem is, the second you put something online, a tweet, a cryptic post, even a like or a comment, the media jumps on it. Then the fans react, the narratives start spinning, and before you know it, what was probably a moment of frustration turns into a headline about locker room drama. And that's where A.J. gets caught. Because once the story's out there, He doesn't always clarify what he meant, which just adds more fuel to the fire. Compare that to Devonta Smith, who's every bit as competitive but handles it differently. When Devonta's frustrated, you'll never know it. He stays calm, cool, and collected during press conferences. He doesn't air it out on social media, even if he's not getting the targets he wants. But make no mistake, he feels it too. He wants to be great just as much as AJ does. The only difference is in how they express it. AJ is louder, more transparent, while Devonta keeps things internal. Both approaches have their pros and cons, but in a media market like Philadelphia, being outspoken can quickly turn into a storm. That's why this whole situation feels more like a personality clash between passion and perception rather than an actual issue inside the locker room. The article about AJ even humanized him in a way that fans sometimes forget. It talked about the things he's dealt with since childhood, the way his upbringing shaped his mindset, and how he channels that into his drive to succeed. You read it and realize this isn't some diva wideout crying for attention. It's a man who's been through a lot, who wants to be remembered for something bigger than stats, but who's also fighting the constant pressure of proving himself in a results-driven business. The thing is, AJ's desire to win and to shine doesn't hurt the team, it pushes it. That fire spreads. You can see it in how hard he trains, how seriously he takes practice, and how he holds others accountable. That kind of energy is contagious, especially for younger guys trying to find their place. The real challenge is keeping that energy pointed in the right direction. And that's where leadership from guys like Jalen Hurts becomes crucial. Hurts has this quiet, unwavering focus, the type of leadership that keeps the locker room balanced. He doesn't care about personal stats. He just wants to win. When you mix his mentality with AJ's intensity, you get a perfect balance between composure and firepower. At the same time, the coaching staff knows exactly how to use that dynamic. They understand that AJ plays best when he feels involved, when he's getting those touches early, when he's allowed to set the tone physically. You feed him the ball, and suddenly defenses have to adjust, which opens up everything else. The middle for Dallas Goedert, the deep routes for Devonta, the lanes for Saquon Barkley. It all connects. That's why managing personalities is just as important as managing schemes in today's NFL. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Whispers are swirling through the NFL community, and insiders suggest that the league is quietly stepping into a potential storm. An investigation has reportedly been opened, and all eyes are turning toward the Philadelphia Eagles, who may already be feeling the ripple effects of the controversy. Details remain murky, but sources close to the situation hint that this isn't your typical league oversight. The NFL is treating this matter with unusual urgency, signaling that the stakes could be higher than anyone expected. Fans and analysts alike are speculating on what could have triggered this sudden scrutiny. Some insiders suggest that recent on-field decisions and behind-the-scenes movements may have caught the league's attention, sparking questions about compliance with league rules and ethical standards. While the Eagles organization has remained tight-lipped, the atmosphere around the team has reportedly shifted. Players and staff are said to be walking a fine line between denial and cautious acknowledgement, fueling the rumor mill even further. The timing of the investigation raises eyebrows. With the season still unfolding and the Eagles in a competitive position, the potential implications are far-reaching. Could penalties, fines, or even changes to game outcomes be on the horizon? While nothing is confirmed, the mere possibility is enough to set fan forums and social media platforms ablaze. Pundits are already weighing in, offering theories that range from minor administrative oversights to more serious infractions that could reshape the league's current standings. Adding to the intrigue, league insiders are reportedly speaking off the record about unusual communications between team executives and league officials. These hints, while unverified, have only intensified the buzz, suggesting that this investigation could uncover layers previously unknown to the public. The Eagles, a team known for its resilience on the field, now faces a different kind of challenge, one that could test its reputation as much as its athletic prowess. As the story develops, the NFL community is bracing for updates, and speculation shows no signs of slowing. If the rumors hold any truth, the consequences for the Eagles could be significant, both on and off the field. Fans, commentators, and even rival teams are watching closely, eager to see whether this situation will fade quietly or explode into one of the season's most talked about controversies. For now, the only certainty is uncertainty, and in the NFL, that is often the most dangerous game of all. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.